How's it going, listeners? Chris GST here, web admin for PWP. I just wanted to let you guys know that I had to edit this podcast with DJ Hyde. Of course, he was on his cell phone and traveling, so there was a lot of noise in the background, so I edited as well as I could. I apologize if it's not quite up to par with some of our other audio podcasts, but still definitely an interesting podcast to listen to. Lots of information, obviously not just about the Tournament of Death, but also just indie pro wrestling as a whole. Lots of stuff, and of course, last time we got a lot of feedback for the DJ Hyde interview, and he revealed some stuff. I feel like he does that again, and possibly even more, depending on your perspective. Anyway, give it a listen, and appreciate the feedback. Of course, always at mailbag@pwponderings.com. You're faking your bones are breaking, yeah. Like the knife, like the tribes that come to battle on this night. How's it going, listeners? Chris GST, web admin for pwponderings.com. We're here with the very special guest that I talked about on the weekly newscast, owner and operator of Combat Zone Wrestling, Mr. DJ Hyde. DJ, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing quite well.
Glad to hear that. I know you're in a bit of transit, so we appreciate the time you're taking to talk about this. The upcoming Tournament of Death 12 on Saturday, June 8th at 2 p.m. in Townsend, Delaware. This, of course, will be delayed iPay-per-view available at CZW.ippv.com. I think it's going to be a fun time. A lot of our listeners have been asking us about Tournament of Death, and some of them, we asked for questions on Twitter, on email, and I would say a good percentage of them were asking they haven't really been paying attention to CZW in quite some time. They really just started paying attention back in 2012, but they don't. I don't know how to put this, DJ. The Tournament of Death to me is a stalwart for CZW. A lot of our listeners, though, they just really wanted to ask about the death match aspect. How much are you expecting out of this? Before we even run down any of the matches or the stipulations, what is the Tournament of Death within the history of CZW?
Tournament of Death was started by John Zandig quite a while ago. Obviously, this is the annual event that we have. This is the 12th incarnation of it. Basically, what it is, it's the best hardcore deathmatch wrestlers in the world all gather in a tournament to basically crown a champion. And in the past 11 outings of this, some of those renowned hardcore deathmatch guys, however you want to look at it, have walked away with that trophy. And, for fans of hardcore wrestling, this is kind of like their Christmas. This is the day that they all congregate and, come to a place down in Delaware and really just make a day out of it. Tournament of Death, it's something unique. It's something special. It's not something that, you're going to see every day or see on a normal wrestling show. It's artistry with nothing but violence. So the best way I think I could put it. John's idea, though, I think was to create something that the hardcore fan base wanted at the time. And since then, it has been one of our annual shows and predominantly one of our biggest shows.
Absolutely, I think it's very clear why. If anyone checks out any of the Tournament of Death, from 2011, 2010, they're just some of the most violent stuff you're going to watch. But it's not violence for violence sake. There are stories. There's something on the line in each one of these matches. So let's go through this. In the actual Tournament of Death, the first 4 opening rounds, each one has a different stipulation, and maybe DJ, you can go into a little bit of detail as to what's going to happen in the second and semifinal rounds. In an ultra-violent dog collar match, we're having the champion Masada going up against Ron Mathis. In a mummified barbed wire match, Danny Havoc versus Rory Mondo. In an ultra-violent ladders match, Lucky 13 goes up against a recently returning Scotty Vortex. And in international Panes of Glass, yourself, DJ, you are taking on Takumi Tsukamoto. I believe it's also his debut, maybe in the States. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
This is his first international trip ever. So Tsukamoto is, I will speak very highly of him, but we'll get into that as time goes.
Absolutely. And then, of course, in the one non-tournament action match that I have listed here, Drake Younger takes on Devon Moore in a scaffold match. So let's talk about the Tournament of Death, because that's clearly why we're here. Let's start with your match. Panes of Glass. hot, DJ. It's just just the thought of it hurts, and if anyone saw the show at WrestleCon, I think anyone could understand why. What can we expect from you and this debuting international star?
I think a lot of people don't know a lot about Tsukamoto. Tsukamoto is probably the fastest rising deathmatch star in Japan. He's mentored by Jun Kasai and Raiji Ito. He was trained at BJW. He was a young boy there. He's still technically a young boy. He's still new to the business. But, I mean, I don't think a lot of the American fan base follows, what's recently happening over there. And he's the guy. Like, he's the guy that's going to be the next Jun Kasai, the future guy, the next deathmatch legend.
So this is a baptism by fire, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, literally, I've been to Japan quite a few times with BJW, and obviously I'll have a lot more news on that. I actually recently just got back about a week ago from being over there with Jay Chris, and, we've done some press for my match with Tsukamoto, and Takumi, he's the new guy. Why Panes of Glass? I mean, that's a DJ Hyde specialty match. I mean, if you've looked at even recent history, Panes of Glass is probably one of the more violent, one of the more, spectacle matches that I can say out there. It's something that I tend to be a specialist at. And, so far in my career, I've only lost one Panes of Glass match, and that happened to be Cage of Death this year, and which wasn't even Panes. It was the Shattered Dream Cage with God knows how much glass.
I was just about to say, anyone who's seen that iconic image of of that match, that's just painful.
Yeah. And I mean, with this, it's two guys that both know each other from Japan, and it's for me, an honor to work with him. I've worked with him before in the ring, and we've had great matches, but yet he's never defeated me, and I don't think he will. But Takumi, I think a lot of guys, when they see Tsukamoto, he tells me, I want to die. So, I mean, expect something special out of this kid. I really do. And I think once the CZW fan base sees him, they're going to take a liking to him.
Absolutely. So let's get into the rest of these, because all of these have quite a bit of expectation coming with them, as we said. The Ultraviolent Ladders match from Lucky 13 and Scotty Vortex. This is a storyline that's been built around, obviously Scotty Vortex returning was a surprise. I know you guys recently released on your YouTube page a video of it and his response. He's, obviously him and Drake Younger, they have their history, but apparently he's turned to the side of Drake Younger for whatever reason. So he's going against Lucky 13. So what's going on with that?
Well, I mean, it's kind of an issue that, it started between Danny and Drake. And Danny Havoc, Drake Younger, I mean, they're all friends. All these guys, they're all buddies and boys, and, they have a long-standing history in the wrestling business, not just in CZW, but everywhere. I think a lot of fans know that these guys are friends, and recently, Drake Younger changed his life within the last 18 months. Anybody out there who follows him on Twitter or Facebook, he's 18 months clean, sobriety, drug-free, sober, the whole nine. He's moved out to California. He's dropped a ton of weight, got his body in amazing shape, and, he's kind of distanced himself from his old friends, and Danny Havoc and Devin Moore and Lucky 13 are all in that, nation of intoxication. Anybody that knows them or knows them personally or knows anything about their characters in wrestling or whatever, these guys love to drink, they love to party, they love to have a good time. And, Drake is very anti that, and Drake seems to preach that a lot. He's not, how do you say, I don't want to say he's like a televangelist or anything like that, but he really is anti anything to do with that. Like, hey, if you want to go out and grab a beer, he's going to tell you that it's the devil. And he has told people that sometimes. But, he's doing what he feels is best for his family. I mean, obviously, also in CZW and in wrestling in general, people know that Scotty Vortex is his best friend. Scotty's also walked down that path, gotten himself clean. While, Danny and Lucky and Devin are out there, they're having beers, they're doing their thing. That's, and far be it from me to to tell them not to. You know, a lot of wrestling fans and sports fans just in general, they all want to, you know, sit down and drink and have a good time. And, you know, some things have kind of escalated, and it started off as, you know, Drake tried to help his buddy out, you know, some months ago when the Nation of Intoxication had the tag team titles and kind of accidentally slipped and, you know, hit Danny Havoc with a chair, and, you know, they kind of brought it up, and, you know, a drunk Danny Havoc called him out, you know, and was like, you know, hey, man, like, you know, maybe things are a little bit different, and things have kind of escalated from there to where now you got Scotty back in the fold, and, you know, he's got his boys, and Drake's got his boy, and, you know, the sides are a little uneven, but, you know, a couple matches coming out of Tournament of Death, these are some of the best hardcore wrestlers in the world, and, you know, when you got Lucky and you got Scotty, these are two high-flying guys. Ladders is right up their alley. If you watched, you know, you mentioned WrestleCon, and, you know, the aerial assault match, Lucky 13 was in that. He did some amazing things off a ladder and off the box. Scotty Vortex is known, you know, to do a lot of crazy things off of high things, and he's actually kind of a specialist at these ultraviolet ladder matches. He's a former Tournament of Death champion. So him coming back, I'm pretty sure that this means a lot to him just to be in this tournament and to, you know, prove that after about a year-plus hiatus that he's still got what it takes, you know. Lucky this is, you know, his second year in the tournament, and, you know, he's got something to prove to his buddies. You know, and it's pride at stake. I mean, these guys, you know, they got an issue. It's not, it's kind of resorted to some violence now. It's not something that, you know, they've toned down. They were all friends, and now they're kind of, you know, friends fight from time to time. So here we are, them in the first round.
Exactly, and speaking of the pride that you were talking about, Danny Havoc, he's taking on Rory Mondo in a mummified barbed wire match. I gotta say, DJ, I read, I believe Drew Gulak's, I guess, kind of a guide to the Tournament of Death. What are we literally gonna see someone wrapped in barbed wire? Because I could actually believe it.
The concept of this match, to be honest with you, was a Danny Havoc idea. I'll tell you right now, Danny, when it comes to these style of matches, he's got idea after idea after idea, and, you know, I can tell you that it has to do with a lot of barbed wire, a coffin that is full of barbed wire, and might you see somebody get mummified in barbed wire? Yes, you might. So I expect this to be a pretty dangerous match. You know, Danny and Rory know each other quite well. I mean, Danny's obviously probably one of the best deathmatch wrestlers in the world. Rory, young, up-and-comer, he's done a couple of tours in Japan. You know, he's really not ever proved himself, and, you know, knocking off Danny Havoc in the first round could, you know, be a big thing not only for his career, but, you know, winning this tournament, trying to, you know, live on the dream of his mentor, you know, Sick Nick Mondo, who won the very first Tournament of Death. It would be a big deal to Rory. So I expect something great from these guys. You know, I expect Rory to give it his all, and, you know, Danny Havoc is still Danny Havoc.
Absolutely. And then in the final first round, an ultra-violent dog collar match. It is the champion Masada up against Ron Mathis. I'm actually going to tie in a question here. Someone asked us to ask you, what are your thoughts on Ron Mathis? And on top of that, we've seen dog collar matches in the past. You know, they're bloody, they're brutal. But this is in CZW. This has got to say something a little bit more about this match.
Well, I guess I'll start with Masada, and then I'll go into my thoughts of Ron Mathis. Masada has won this tournament 2 years in a row running. He's the defending, reigning champion of Tournament of Death and the defending and reigning Combat Zone Wrestling champion. He has been unbeaten for almost 2 years. There's nobody who's put him down in the Combat Zone, or most places anywhere around the world that his travels have, you know, brought him to. He takes great pride in that title, and he is one of the biggest and baddest in this business. Now, Masada, on the other hand, he is injured. Obviously, we'll get into why Masada's in the tournament. I'm sure there's questions about that. You know, and he basically, you know, he does need surgery. He has a tear in his knee, and, you know, but his basic idea, and I'm assuming I can swear on this, this podcast. Okay. Well, Masada said, I ain't no fucking pussy. I don't give a fuck. I'm the fucking champion. I'm going to go out there and beat this motherfucker's ass. Quote. I think I worded that exactly how he told me. I said, okay. So, he takes great pride in that. He holds that CZW title very well as his Tournament of Death trophies, which, he has in his home and are proudly displayed, too. Now he's taking on Ron Mathis. Ron Mathis has been in and out of CZW a few times, and he's impressed. Not just in the hardcore scene. I've seen a lot of his work out in the Midwest. He's recently had a big feud with Sami Callihan out there at a few promotions. And, I see this kid, and I don't know what it is about Ron Mathis, but I swear to God he reminds me of a guy named John Moxley, or most people know it better as Dean Ambrose. And he's got the mannerisms. He's just never had the real platform to succeed. And I think Moxley had the same problem when, he really broke into the combat zone. I think Ron Mathis is looking at this as this is the opportunity to make his career. Not only in just, hardcore deathmatch wrestling, but in CZW in general. When I originally spoke to him and I started using him on and off as a competitor, he said being in CZW is his dream to have a roster spot. A lot of guys say they want to get that jacket because after you've been here for a while, and you're on the CZW roster, we give you a CZW jacket, and it's a big deal to him. And it's kind of a goal that a lot of the Midwest talent, always wanted to be here. Callahan was one of those guys, and all of the OI4K with Jake and Dave Christ and Nevaeh, their goal, their dream was to get to CZW because that's what they grew up watching. And I think this is going to be a great opportunity for Ron. And if he can knock off the CZW World Champion in the first round of Tournament of Death, that is going to speak volumes for him. It's going to speak volumes for his career. And if he can somehow manage to win the Tournament of Death, it's instantly going to make him a star and earn him a spot here in the combat zone.
Absolutely. It's very much kind of a philosophy, I guess, very similar to Japan. You got to earn your spot in CZW, and I know that I've said that to people in the past. It does tie in. I will get those questions in, actually, because we got I would say about, let me count, 3 or 4 questions, asking us, why is Masada in this tournament if he is injured? Are you worried about that? He is your reigning champion. Obviously, anything can happen in the Tournament of Death. If he gets injured, and it's an injury that, knock on wood, doesn't happen, but if he has to be kept out for a couple months, what happens to him? What happens to the title?
Masada is injured. Unfortunately, this is his career. So there's a few things that play in a factor. One, in order to survive, Masada needs to wrestle, just like I do. We don't have a regular job. Masada doesn't get up on Monday morning and go in and punch a clock. I'm the same way. Like, if I'm not wrestling, hey, if I'm hurt, I'm hurt. I got bills to pay, and that's just how it is. And that's one of the reasons. I mean, that's probably the most personable reason and what people can really understand. Do I have any concerns about it? Yeah. We plan on actually doing a charity event for him in July. We didn't want to do it in June with so many shows so close and near together that are pretty big in this area. I mean, obviously we're working with Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore at Tournament of Death, so we don't want fans to go and spend their hard-earned money and not have anything for a Masada charity event. So we plan on doing that to help him get the surgery that he needs and to get his MRI done. I mean, it's not, most wrestlers, we don't have a lot of money. It's not like something like, there's no benefits in wrestling. It's you go in and you live your life the way you live your life. Another thing with Masada is I don't think I can tell him no. I mean, I know Masada quite well, and he's a pretty scary individual. I've been in the ring with him many times, and no offense, he's not the guy you want to be left in a dark alley with because he might kill you. Like, there's something wrong there, and telling him that he can't do something is going to piss him off. And it's going to make him want to do it even more. And that's just the type of person he is. I mean, originally I did ask him, and this is the promoter talking, I guess, I did ask him to sit out and said, hey, I would take care of him, but obviously the business has changed, and Masada's the champion, and, he feels he's the leader of this company. He's going to step up and do what he needs to do, and that's exactly what I expect of him. And that's what makes him, one of the leaders of the company and probably one of the best wrestlers in the business.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anyone who wouldn't respect that type of dedication to the business. So, of course, no, those are the opening rounds. Of course, anything could happen. We could see Scotty Vertex versus Danny Havoc. We could see you face up against Masada. Who knows? There's a lot of things that could happen. But as we were mentioning in non-tournament action, Drake Younger is going up against Devon Moore in a scaffold match. You know, recently, and, you know, we reported this on the weekly newscast, Drake Younger had his last death match, so to speak. You know. And this is a scaffold match. I'm not saying this is not a death match, but it's still pretty dangerous. Going into this, obviously, though, Drake has some issues with Devin, so I don't know. What do you see happening in this?
Devin Moore is the king of the scaffold match, period. That's all I can tell you. Devin Moore is not afraid of heights. He will, I mean, he's done more of these than anybody I know, you know. And, you know, obviously there's some issues. Drake takes his things personally, you know. It's like I said, Drake is a very emotional human being, like, especially now. He's changed his life. He feels he's got to do what's best for his family, and, you know, that's why he decided to stop deathmatch wrestling, you know. And he had his last deathmatch on Sunday. You think Devin cares? Probably not, you know. I mean, is this a death match? Maybe. I mean, you're talking about falling, you know, 20, 30 feet to a ring or the ground or God knows what.
Exactly.
But I think Drake's willing to step up and do it. He's going to do what he's got to do. He loves this business, and he loves this company more than anything else. Now, obviously, these guys have a personal issue, and, you know, there's issues among them and their friends, and that's where it could end up. And, you know, I think Drake kind of put out the challenge and said, hey, I'm going to beat you at your own game, Devin. This is your match, and I'm taking you out, you know. And, I mean, you can't knock Drake Younger's deathmatch wrestling or anything else he's done in his career, especially recently. The guy's on fire. I mean, he's showing up everywhere, and he's doing well. He's done plenty of international stuff, you know, where, you know, with myself, he's going to be in the World Triangle Tournament this year in Europe, which is going to be a huge deal. You know, he's worked for PWG. He's a former CZW champion. I mean, the guy just, you know, he does it all. And you know, I expect something great from both of them. It's Tournament of Death. And anybody that knows Drake, this is like Christmas to him. He gets excited. You know, this is the day you go, you know, fans going to see him. He's going, but I get Tournament of Death, DJ. You know, that's what Drake's going to do. You know, this week he's called me every single day. You ready for Tournament of Death, DJ? You know it's on Saturday. You know, and that's just how Drake is. And, you know, I expect a great, great match.
Absolutely, and that's actually something I'm going to ask you about a little bit later, that World Triangle League. I saw the news up on your website, czwrestling.com. You can check that out there. But, yes, we'll be talking about that in a little bit. Before we get to Sami Callihan, because I know right now he's kind of that hot-button issue for a lot of our listeners, just wanted to also announce Drew Gulak, OI4K's Jake and Dave Chris, and Tommy Dreamer will also be on hand at Tournament Death on June 8th. What are their roles, DJ? What can you tell us? What are they going to do?
What are who going to do? Those guys?
Yes.
Well, who do you want me to address first? Drew Gulak has requested, if you go to czwrestling.com right now, you know, he's got his pamphlet out for your guide for Tournament of Death. You know, and he wants to make sure that, you know, fans are very well aware of what they're getting themselves into showing up to a Tournament of Death, and that they are prepared, because the campaign for a Better Combat Zone is concerned about our fans. So Drew has asked for, you know, a moment on the show's time to address that. I expect OI4K to be a tag action. Tommy Dreamer will be there, and, you know, he may be signing autographs. He may actually be on the show. You never know. So, I mean, that would bring us to Sami Callihan, and, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot we can talk. I mean, he's a hot button for a lot of people right now.
He absolutely is. We have a myriad of questions about him, but I'm just gonna sum them all up, because we'd be here for hours.
I got time. I'm all yours. I'm all yours and all the fans. Ask away.
All right. Well, what has Sami Callihan meant to you, and what do you see them repackaging him, I guess? But, I mean, honestly, I think a lot of the questions I also want to know, this is his last CZW event. This is going to be very emotional for a lot of people. I guess what's going to happen?
To be honest with you, his last CZW event was supposed to be last show when he wrestled me. That was supposed to be it. But unfortunately, he got a bit of a delay, and, you know, now he's here for Tournament of Death. He has, I'm not going to put out who he's wrestling because he requested specifically to wrestle this person. And I think it's going to be a very emotional day for him. I mean, I'll tell you on a personal note, after our match at Proving Ground, which, you can get, right now it's available on at IPPV, or crap, I'm messing up my own website. Go to czwrestling.com, it's all there. So, afterwards, Sammy probably, he cried for a while. He realized this is hope. He said to me, on a personal note, he goes, I'm probably never going to be back here again. He goes, if I am, but he goes, if I'm not back here again, this is my family. Sammy doesn't have, he lost his mom. He's not really close with his brothers. His dad is not doing well as we speak. And CZW is his home. I mean, recently he moved back to Ohio to be with his father, but, he moved out to New Jersey specifically for Combat Zone Wrestling, leaving everything he ever knew. And now he's, going to be going on and progressing his career. I'm not real sure how Sammy's going to handle it. I know that it's going to be an emotional day for a lot of the guys here because, it's just not the same, without Sammy being there all the time and doing the craziness and, making fun of me and all the things Sammy does. He's probably one of the most important people in CZW and has been over the last few years. I personally will tell you on a personal side, Sammy's one of my best friends. I couldn't be prouder for him, but then again, that void, I know how it works. John Moxley's one of my best friends, too. I don't really get the chance to talk to him because his schedule's insane. Sometimes you never know what these guys are doing. But on the other side of things, these are the guys that are going to carry on my legacy as CZW owner, as a trainer, as a person in this business. Like when Sammy said, hey, my last match is going to be, our May event, Sammy, I said, who do you want to wrestle? And he said, I want to wrestle you. And, that was pretty important to me. And it made, it makes you feel a certain way. Me and Sammy have had a long history in CZW. I've had 6 concussions in my career. 4 of them have been from Sammy. So, it's something special. And I think we went out there last month and really tore the house down and gave the fans, something special. And we didn't put out there that, hey, it's Sammy's last match, or because a lot of things are up in the air. You never know with their schedules. But on a personal side, losing Sammy's going to kill me. On a professional side, it's gonna hurt CZW, but you know what? There's always another Sammy Callahan. There's always somebody else. At one point, Trent Acid was the guy. Then, another point, maybe it was Adam Cole. There's always going to be that next guy that steps up and fills that role, and I think we've got a lot of great young talent to do that. But man, it's just going to be really hard not to see Sammy at shows and for fans to not see him anymore. The fans, I'm going to tell you, as long as Sammy's great talent and him, goes on and progresses in his career, this will be the last time you get to see him in a CZW ring. Unless something, God forbid, happens. But, come check it out because he wants to make it special, and he's going to go all in for it.
Absolutely. So we encourage everyone to check it out, as we said, June 8th, 2 p.m. in Townsend, Delaware. Speaking of, Adam Cole, we did get a couple questions about that. People are asking us, hey, do you know if Adam Cole's going to show back up in CZW? I'm not asking you, DJ, to reveal that to us, but, we've all heard,
He's going to show up when on Saturday? Maybe. I don't know.
Exactly. I mean, who knows? We all saw the reports of him re-signing with Ring of Honor. We saw the images they put out there. I don't know. Can you even talk about? Has he contacted you? Do you even want to tell us?
Adam Cole's another one of my best friends. Of course, I groomed that kid. I trained that kid.
Absolutely.
I'm the one who told him to re-sign with Ring of Honor. I mean, business-wise, him working at Ring of Honor is really good for him. He's making a lot of money. He's got a lot of exposure there, and, it's really good for him. Might he be there on Saturday? Maybe. Do I expect to see him in a CZW ring in the future? Yes, he will be. He does have a commitment to ROH that he has to honor, but above that, I think CZW is a commitment. And, we do a lot of business. We work well with ROH, and I think for him to see Sammy go might be something he wants to see. Just as a wrestler, as a personal thing. I mean, those two made their career in CZW. I mean, they've gone on to a lot of other promotions, traveled the world, done things, but, this is the place that they were made stars. This is the place that they call home. And, I would expect Adam to want to come check it out. Will he be there or not? I can't really tell people. But I hope to see him Saturday.
We'll leave it at that. One thing we can answer, though, there was a stipulation here. You literally asked the fans to bring the weapons match that's going to occur in Tournament of Death. Obviously, this is a staple of the promotion. I got to tell you, DJ, some of the images that I've seen, and people are posting on message boards, on Facebook groups, photos of the weapons they plan on bringing to CZW. There's actually one in particular that I know of. It had about half a dozen cheese graters attached to a baseball bat. What do you want the fans to bring? I mean, it's like anything less than an automatic rifle, I'm assuming, is up for fair game.
Well, you never know. We might use that. I mean, I want fans to be creative, and I want them to bring their best. Bring your A game. Hey, if you're building a weapon and you want to build something cool and you want us to use it, make it something cool. I mean, there's a lot of. I've used a lot of different weapons in matches. I mean, I did a Toy Story death match this past weekend, which was the most interesting thing I think I've ever done. But
I have to ask you to tell me what that was, because I got the translation from CageMatch.de and I did not understand it. I'll admit that.
Basically, what it was the idea of it was that every 2 minutes of the match they brought out a present, and in that present was an ultra-violent toy. An example of that was, the first thing was, the little swim long things. It was that, but it had thumbtacks on it. There was a baby wrapped in barbed wire. Not a real baby, a fake baby. But it was a lot of interesting things, Legos, things that will hurt, and we got creative with them. I was pretty interested because one of the weapons was a blonde girl, so I was pretty happy with that gimmick. But
there you go.
So, hey, you get a hot blonde girl coming out of a box in Germany. That's quite interesting. It's not something, I guess it's a toy,
There you go.
But as this happened, they play the Toy Story music every time a present is brought out. So
that's fantastic.
And it went from everything from Legos to lightsabers to a baby to all kinds of things to colored pencils put into a board. So it's interesting. It was something that hopefully I get to watch on tape and get entertained by. So it's very interesting. But it is what it is at this point, my friend.
Absolutely. Well, let's see what the fans can see what your creativity is this weekend for Tournament of Death. So before we get into some of the extra questions and some other topics I wanted to touch on, let's talk about this again. Tournament of Death this Saturday, June 8th, 2 p.m., Townsend, Delaware. You guys got to check it out if you can be there. If you can drive there, I really hope that you go. And, of course, if you can, check it out on the Late Eye pay-per-view. I know I will be at czwippv.com, or just go to czwrestling.com for all the information. So, DJ, we got some extra questions to talk about. So you've actually answered a lot of them. So I'm going to run through some of these. But, okay, so one, and I'm not, like I said, I've said this on the weekly newscast, I'm not really going to mention anyone's name. I don't want anyone to be embarrassed for asking whatever. So what is the latest on the arena that you know of?
I know Roger Artigiani is trying to get back into the arena. I have pictures of it. It is not changed. I was in there 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks. When did I leave for Japan? About 3 weeks ago. A little more than that at this point. It's a big empty warehouse. There's nothing. The crow's nest is gone. The bathrooms are gone. The locker room is gone. The concession stand is gone. I mean, it's all gone. I have some pictures on my phone that I took I could put up there. Anybody that saw the pictures from Barbed Wire City when they aired that there pretty much knows. I mean, if you want my opinion on the arena and what's going to happen with it, I know they have plans to turn it into a 3,000-seat concert arena. If that happens, there will probably never be indie wrestling in there again. Simple fact of the matter is, it'll come down to a business thing. I already know what Roger was asking for the building. It's an insane number. It's not something that you're going to see, any predominant indie. I don't even think WWE would touch it. But they feel that with what they're going to do, they'll be able to draw there. And we'll see. If it does come back and the right deal comes up, and it's something that looks promising for CZW, I guarantee you we will be back there. But with that being said, I think Flyers Skate Zone is a much better facility. It just doesn't have the ambiance of the arena, but I've been in that building, and it ain't the arena anymore. It's gone. It's all gone. It's like walking into the house you grew up in, and the walls are torn down. The marks of how you grew when you were a little child. It's not the same place. It's going to be remodeled. It's going to be, super uptight, expensive. They basically want to make a mini Wells Fargo Center out of it. It's going to be a restaurant, all kinds of stuff put in there. It's not going to be something that the indie fan or the casual wrestling fan is going to go to. They're looking for a more upper-class, oriented thing. I would say something similar to like what the casinos look like. That is the blueprint. Now, whether that happens, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be a sight to be seen. But if there is an opportunity for CZW to be back in there, I guarantee you I will investigate it. But other than that, nothing's changed. I was in there 3 weeks ago. Looks the same way it did with Barbed Wire City. So
It is what it is. And I forgot to mention this, and I know this question actually brought it up into my memory. There is information for bus trips. So there are pickups in Queens, New York, Manhattan, New York, and Rahway, New Jersey. I will provide the information for that in this podcast, but there is WrestlingBusTrips.com. There is information there for you to check out as well. All right.
Mike Johnson, PW's got it. Love him. Yeah.
There you go. Let's see. Do you think deathmatch wrestling has gotten more respect or less over the last few years?
In terms of what? Towards the fans or towards the business?
This person, I know him, and I know that he watches a lot of what is that thing called? Where they show the Botchamania. There we go. So I think this was actually in context to that because of videos like that, and they do showcase a lot of indie wrestling. I'm not saying there's a bias there, but for whatever reason, sometimes a lot of WWE and TNA stuff doesn't make it on there, so a lot of indie stuff does. And I think that's what this person is asking about. Do you feel that because of videos like that for whatever reason that deathmatch wrestling, will it get more or less respect, I guess, over the last few years?
I think in a fan's point of view, it's just a matter of how you look at it. Some fans really respect it. Wrestling, it's an art form. Deathmatch wrestling is an art form, too. There's not a lot of guys that are really talented at it. There's a lot. You can sit out there and say, well, anybody can go out there and swing a light tube or a barbed wire baseball bat or, yeah. But there's a reason why the guys in CZW are the best in the world at it, and there's a reason why we're the predominant place. There's not any other company, not any other deathmatch tournament that draws, that does what we do, that brings in the people we bring in, that has the international relationships we have through these, this particular style of wrestling. But you're also going to get people that's like, that's that hack and slash, you're going to get the people that love it, you're going to get the people that hate it. As far as inside the business goes, it's the same way. Some people believe it's just, people out there beating the crap out of people doing crazy stuff. But then again, if you look at some of the best, greatest wrestlers in the history of this business, that is what they do. Nothing against Mick Foley, but no offense, Mick Foley would have never been a star unless Undertaker didn't throw him 30 feet to a table. All right? Terry Funk, the great legend Terry Funk, all the ECW guys, you know what I'm saying? Every one of them, start to finish. Even CM Punk, John Cena, all those guys that are up in WWE, Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels made the ladder match famous. It's a different type of environment. And I think some people in the business look at it a certain way and some people don't. I think a lot of people do respect what we do, but a lot of people in the business don't respect how it's viewed. Because the business has changed over years. I mean, it's been around for 12 years, and since the very first one to now, there's been a lot of change. And, you know, and I expect more. I mean, I don't even know at this point if we're going to continue to do COD. This may be the last one. I mean, because of how difficult it is and how hard it is to promote this show and to find good talent and, you know, the expenses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, it can be looked at in a bunch of different ways. It's just a matter of opinion on all sides.
Absolutely. On a personal note, I mean, really much tied into what you said. I'm kind of a, I want to say Bruiser Brody Mark. You know, I really enjoy reading about him and stuff like that. And then there are a lot of other, I'm not going to throw any names out there because I respect them too. There's a lot of other notable wrestlers in the business, and sometimes, you know, you hear, you know, on interviews and they will belittle his career. And I personally, I understand I'm biased. I just don't understand why. You know, they say that he did wrestling in a certain style and they don't agree with it, but then they belittle him for it. And I'm like, well, it's different, but it's not, it's just and it's an aspect of wrestling. That's what it is.
Well, it's more than an aspect. You have to look at it, like, obviously, COD is its own animal, all right? But in professional wrestling, all things lead to some kind of hardcore match. It all leads to some kind of story that builds to something. You know what I mean? We have something called KZW. Why do we turn it up and go that crazy? Because we don't have WWE's money. You know, I don't have Dixie Carter and Panda Energy giving me millions of dollars. You know, we're doing this off of our blood, sweat, and tears, and trying to hustle and, you know, give fans something different. Because, I mean, you can tune in Monday night and watch wrestling all the time for free. You know, and, you know, you're going to come to our show and pay $20 or $25 or whatever it is, wherever you're sitting, you know, to try. You want to see something different. You want to see something special that you don't see every single day. You want to see, you know, something a little bit bigger, a little bit more. And that's what we try to deliver.
Absolutely, and it's actually kind of prophetic that you mentioned that, because it ties in directly to these next two questions that I'm putting together. That do you see the deathmatch aspect of CZW and wrestling in general, this was in quotation marks, so gradually being phased out over time? And then this next person asks, is there a chance that CZW will stop doing them altogether? So you kind of alluded to that this, you know, this may be the last tournament of death. I mean, is it that hard to put on? You know, and obviously you're looking out for the welfare of your talents as well.
Well, I don't think it's ever going to stop happening. Well, I'll address it. I don't think we're ever going to stop doing it. Like, I don't think we're going to do it to the extreme that it's been done in the past. Like, if you look at how, when I took over the company to now, we have toned down the death matches a lot. There's a lot of reason for that. It's not nothing that's like, hey, we're doing this to screw fans or any of that. No, it's not really that. It's more along the lines of that our hands are tied on a lot of things. I'll give you all fans an example, and this is probably going to allude to some other questions. All right, the tournament generally draws about 1,000 people, okay? Just on an average. All right, sometimes more, sometimes less. Just depends, you know? But it's never drawn under 750 people, never. So I expect to get that. So we'll put a round number at 800 people. We'll say it's $20 a ticket. Okay. That's about $16,000 is your nut. You know what I mean? That's what you're going to make on that day to pay all your expenses. All right? Well, you're going to start right off that now you're going to run a Tournament of Death show in the state of Delaware. Every single person that steps foot in that ring, from the guys that are wrestling in the death matches to the guys that aren't, to your referees, to your ring announcer, all need a hepatitis A, B, and C, and blood, HIV test required by the state of Delaware. And we actually do it twice a year anyway, so, hey, it is what it is. But that test alone is $100, $99. It's called a combative trio because it tests for all that crap, all right? And, you know, we get it done at LabCorp. But guess what? Guess who's footing that bill? CZW is. That this year was $2,100. All right, so now I'm down to about, I don't know, 13. Then you start with the permit. All right? The permits alone to run this show are all those $1,600 this year. All right, give or take. Now I'm down to about 11. Then you got to figure in, heck, we'll just go with our payroll. All right, I'll use Tsukamoto just as an example. A flight to Japan, average round trip, runs about $1,500. On top of what I'm paying him on a downside guarantee to wrestle. You're going to figure we're probably down to about $4,000 to $5,000 at this point. We haven't spent any money on tables or anything yet. You know, a lot of the stuff that we have to do, we have to build. Barbed wire is not cheap. Yeah, it's great that you fans out there are bringing weapons, and we're going to utilize them to the best of our abilities. Some of those things that we're going to save. I'm in a pane of glass match. I'll tell you right now, a pane of glass costs, the glass that we get is $89. Okay? I purchased 4 of them for my match, and we're probably going to use a few other weapons, but I purchased 4 of them. All right? There's a couple $100. Tables are $110 for the 8-foot wooden tables that you see guys get thrown through. All right? That scaffold is not cheap. Okay? So you even bring that down. Okay, now we got about, $2,000 maybe. I mean, I'm just guesstimating. I haven't purchased food that we got to make money, that we got to do. Plus, I got to put people in hotels. Plus, I got to make sure people are here. Drake Younger's on the show. He lives in Sacramento, California. It's a $580 flight.
Yes,
every single time you see him. Okay? Yeah, and Chris knows. Chris lives out there. It's not cheap.
Nope.
You know, and you start adding that up. You start adding up the hotels. You got to get guys down there. You got to get guys picked up at airports. You know, even with our dojo, you got to give the kids gas money. And I don't screw people out of money. It's not my style. But, you got to make sure that. So what, I'm making a couple $100 at best to do all this work. And chances are there's also going to be things like, hey, I'm going to have to run out and get ice 6 or 7 times. There's always going to be intangibles. That doesn't even cover that the state of Delaware requires you to have 2 EMTs and a paramedic ambulance on site, $1,622. Hey, I'm already in the hole. Thank God for iPay-per-view.
Exactly.
If you start looking at how it was when John first started it, there was no blood test. There was no ambulances. I pay a doctor. We have a great doctor. I don't go to the hospital. I get stitched up in the locker room. We have 2 doctors. Dr. Nancy is amazing, and Dr. Alameen is amazing. They take care of us. You need stitch, you need staples, they do it there. They have equipment. You think they're cheap? No way. They're the highest paid people in CZW. I'll tell you that right now. Plus, we have our own staff. We have our own staff that we have to do. I have to rent a truck to come down there, which I'm renting for 4 days because we have to go down and set up early. You got to have electrical equipment, because obviously, we're in the middle of nowhere doing this, so we got to run some, extension cords. Obviously, some of these things we do already have because we use them and keep them and make purchases, but that's a lot of stuff. Not to mention, it's done on a big field at my parents' farm, all right? Yo, you know how much it costs to cut the grass down there? It's insane, all right? Plus, it's a 2-day process on a tractor. I know, I did it, all right? So you start adding these bills up, and it becomes harder and harder. And all the restrictions that keep getting put on things. Like, an example of this is like at WrestleCon this year, all right, the state of New Jersey decided that they are now, since we are wrestling in New Jersey, but we're a company based out of Delaware, they are charging us % sales tax on every single ticket item sold. And they want a record of everything that we've done over the last couple of years. Hey, I had to show up with a check in hand. You don't believe me? Ask Sal Amare, ask Mike Quackenbush, ask all those guys. Who paid the bill? I did. So it's getting harder to do. And then when you do the hardcore stuff, it's becoming more and more of a, not a hassle, but a difficulty to pull off. On the other end of that spectrum, there's not a lot of guys out there that are good at this. Danny Havoc, Drake Younger, Masada, myself, some of the guys from Japan, heck, even Ron Mathis, Matt Tremont, et cetera, et cetera. These guys that do this style, that specialize in this style, there's not a lot of great ones out there anymore. There's not, another, Danny Havoc waiting in the wings where there's like 6 guys that could be him. There's him, and that's it. So, it is getting more and more difficult, and fans want to see some fresh faces and some new things. Now, guys will step up and do these, but to do these at some of the pace that some of these guys do them, it's pretty insane. And, it is what it is at this point. And will we continue to do it? Of course. Why? Fans are paying to see it. That's what they come to expect. But do I see it getting trimmed down, or may this be the very last tournament of death? It's very possible.
DJ, I gotta say, every time and this is the second interview we've done with you, every time, though, I feel like I learned something new, and I really appreciate you going into that kind of detail. Man, the rest of these questions seem kind of silly in response to that. When are we gonna? And I think this touches on it kind of. When are we gonna see guys like Kyle O'Reilly and Davey Richards in CZW? And I gotta say, DJ, with the answer you just gave, I mean, obviously, guys like Kyle O'Reilly and Davey Richards, they are known commodities in in independent wrestling. But as you said, they're not going to just go into a death match and be as adept at it as some of the guys that you mentioned. It's different. It's a different animal.
Well, that's not what we do. You know what I mean? That's not what CZW is death matches. Obviously, this is what we're talking about because the next show is that. But fans, go out there and watch. Davey Richards and Kyle O'Reilly both have been in CZW. Davey was here in November. He wrestled Masada.
I was going to say, and that match was about as technical as it could get, and I think it proved a lot of people wrong about Masada, in my opinion.
I agree with that. That's one of the reasons why some of the matches Masada has had has been, El Generico, Davey Richards. Those are not guys who, he's the ultra-violent beast. You expect him to be out there doing deathmatch stuff. No, these guys they're the supposedly best wrestlers in the world. Masada's wrestled Michael Elgin. Of course he's wrestled Drake Younger and stuff, and they've done a couple things. Yeah, but, he's wrestled the best guys in the world, and he can prove that he can wrestle. And all the guys in CZW can do that. You need to be a hybrid wrestler to be here. Yeah, if you look at a guy like Danny Havoc, can he wrestle? Oh, hell yeah, he'll wrestle the socks off you. He's been in there with guys like Drew Gulak, who is a mat technician, all right, who could tie you in a knot and make you look stupid, all right, and he holds his own with them. Drake Younger was, the ultra-violent golden boy. Look at this guy. Now he's out there having some of the greatest matches ever with guys like Sami Callihan. He's working for PWG. It just goes to show what guys like that can do, I mean, it's like myself. Like, when I don't get as many opportunities in the States as I do overseas to wrestle great wrestlers. But, like, hey, man, go ahead, Google me. Look me up. Look up anything I've done in Corrigan Hall. Yo, I'm not doing death matches. I think I've done one out of my 15 tours over there. It's not, there's guys that can do this. Scotty Vortex can high fly. Lucky 13, he was a high-flying guy. I mean, he holds his own with guys like Air Fox, who's probably the high flyer in the business. And that's what we're all about. Now back to my rant. Look at that, Chris. You got me going off.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
That's all right. You're just going to say absolutely at the end of it anyway, so don't worry about it. Damn, nobody got that joke. But when do I expect to see more guys like that? The business right now is about to change. Fans, whether you like it or not, very soon you're going to see a lot of independent guys disappear. All right, Sami Callihan, Samurai Del Sol, you're going to see some of these top guys disappear. They're going to be going down to WWE or someplace else. You're going to see guys stepping up. Don't be surprised to see Davey disappear. Don't be surprised to see Kyle disappear. All right? Don't be shocked when they're not here anymore. Will you see more guys like that? I think we've brought in a bunch of fresh new talent that is going to be the next Davey Richards, the next Kyle O'Reilly. You got a guy like Adam Cole who's still here. But then again, we got a guy like Shane Hollister. He's the hottest thing in the Midwest right now. I mean, he is the guy. He is the man out there. You got a guy like Caleb Conley from Dragon Gate, and in the South, that is the guy. The Carolinas, Kentucky, Caleb's the top guy down there.
Yes, he is.
You got the former Chiba Kid, Andrew Everett. I mean, this kid is the next Ricochet AR. He is Vic Busick. I mean, he really hasn't got the opportunity yet, but expect Vic Busick to break out. These are just a few guys. You know what I mean? These are just a few of the young talents that have come in, and seen that. And then you add on top of that, we already have guys like A.R. Fox there and Adam Cole. You've got these great talents that can do all this. Rich Swann, it's Shane Strickland. Those are the guys that are going to take CZW and wrestling in general into the forefront in the future. And then we got the great tag teams, Blackout, OI4K. We've got Alex Reynolds and John Silver down now. The Beaver Boys, they're in full time. Four Loco, that's the best winner. Alex Colon. I mean, there's all kinds of young, hungry talent that I think is going to be the guys that in 3 years you're going to be like, well, Shane Hollister, why he needs to be at CZW. Is he not at, this place or that place? Because that's going to be the guy that you're going to be talking about, fans. It's going to be like the next Davey Richards. And, if you don't want to take my word for it, just watch his matches. Not just in CZW, or anywhere else. I mean, all I listed, they're the future of the business. They're the guys that are going to be the future of CZW. And they're the guys that you're going to be talking about in 3 years.
Absolutely. So one of the last questions here from I would say a friend to both of us, Daniel Mitchell, who I believe is working on a project with you. At least that's what I'm told. He wanted me to ask you, how drunk was Masada on the last year's UK tour?
Chris, you're breaking up. I didn't hear you.
I was from a friend. He wanted to ask how drunk Masada was on last year's UK tour. Daniel Mitchell.
Oh, Daniel Mitchell. Yeah. On the last UK tour?
That was his question. From what I hear, he's working on a project with you as well. But yeah, how drunk was Masada?
On the days off, not that bad. I mean, the days we were wrestling, he really wasn't drunk at all. Like, he didn't really drink. He might have had one or two after the show. But we had 3 days off, and I remember one of those days, he was pretty fucked up. I mean, pretty fucked up probably doesn't even describe how drunk Masada was. I mean, I know WrestleCon weekend he was pretty messed up too. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how drunk he really was. I mean, I know Masada's, in CZW girlfriend and in real life girlfriend is Christina Von Airy. I mean, he spent a lot of time just, on the computer back and forth with her, and he did go out with the boys and got pretty hammered a couple times. But Masada's got a pretty big tolerance when it comes to alcohol. I mean, him and Danny Havoc can go at it some days. But, yeah, he wasn't that bad, Dan. He wasn't that bad.
There you go. All right, so before we get out of here, let's just talk about that, the World Triangle League. I read about it a little bit on your site. It said czwrestling.com. Right now, the first of the 12 competitors already named, Daisuke Sakamoto for Big Japan, Zack Sabre Jr. for WXW out of Germany, where you were this past week with Drake Younger in his last deathmatch match. And I guess representing you guys for CZW, the current CZW Wired Television Champion, AR Fox. What can you tell us about this? Because I'm actually pretty excited to see what comes together of this.
Well, typically what is done, CZW goes on a European tour every year since I've taken over. We work directly with WXW in Germany, and they are our sister partner, as well as Big Japan Pro Wrestling in Japan. We have created something called World Triangle. It's referred to as the Triangle of Unity. We're three companies that are all have similar products. We do everything under the spectrum. We'll do high-flying, hard-hitting, death matches. You name it, we do it. I think CZW is probably the most well-known internationally, but I think that, it was a great partnership. What we've begun to do are these World Triangle shows, where you have competitors from all three companies. Now, in Japan, there is the BJW Strong title. The Strong title is the three-company belt. Basically, it's represented by CZW, Big Japan Pro Wrestling, and WXW. Now, what we wanted to do is to start to do shows like that every year, one in each country. Now, CZW has periodically brought in BJW talent as well as the other companies. CZW is looking to hold its World Triangle event in 2014. This year, we decided to do it in Germany, and we're going to do a big tournament. Usually CZW weekend there's usually a WXW show, a CZW show, and then we load it all up with Tournament of Death Europe or some form of that. This year it's going to be a little bit of a change. We're going to bring, the best wrestling as well as some hard-hitting action and maybe a little hardcore ultra-violence to all 4 days in Germany this week. On top with all CZW while we're touring in England and France this year. The World Triangle League, though, is a 4-day round-robin tournament that basically you were going to have the best wrestlers from all around the world representing every company, as well as a few wild card spots. The wild card spots will be represented by other people from other promotions. The first three announced are you got Daisuke Sekimoto, Zack Sabre Jr., and A.R. Fox. It really doesn't get much bigger than the three of those guys name-wise. Obviously, myself will be over for the tours, and a number of other CZW guys, and possibly girls. It's something that I think is going to be special. In Germany, WXW is probably the premier company. They're probably the premier company in Europe right now. So it's great. They usually have two big weekends a year. CZW weekend, which is what the World Triangle will be this year, and 16 Carat. 16 Carat is probably the world's biggest tournament. It is amazing. They bring in the top talent from everywhere. And this year we're going to do it, the World Triangle League with league play, give you interesting matchups. It's a little bit of a cross between, a tournament like Best of the Best, 16 Carat, to also where in Japan they do league instead of a tournament, straight up one day type thing. So I would expect to see some of the best wrestling, bar none, and you're going to get some of the most interesting matchups that you can. I mean, you never know. You might have, Zack Sabre Jr. in there with A.R. Fox. Never been done. The current WXW champion can wrestle, the current CZW Wire champion again, Tommy N versus A.R. Fox, which was, at Best of the Best this year, one of the premier matches. People thought that was one of the matches of the night. And I mean, you're going to get to see fans over there. You're going to see guys like A.R. Fox for the first time. So it's going to be really special and something that I am really, really looking forward to.
Absolutely, and as always, PWP will keep you guys up to date with that news when it comes out. DJ, we really appreciate all the time you spent with us, and I'm sure people are tired of hearing me hype up Tournament of Death, but one last time, why don't you let people know what they can expect this Saturday on June 8th, and of course, any plugs for the social media of CZW and yourself.
This Saturday is Tournament of Death, fans. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event. It happens once a year. There's something like WrestleMania. Tournament of Death is that. If you are a fan of hardcore wrestling, this is the greatest day of your life. 2 o'clock, Townsend, Delaware. It's bring your own booze. You can come down. You can party. You can do whatever you want. You're going to have a great day of professional wrestling. You're also fans. The last time in a Combat Zone wrestling ring, you're going to get to see Sami Callihan. On top of that, Tommy Dreamer will be there. A ton of other people. It's something really special. Now, as far as Combat Zone goes, obviously you can check us out at czwrestling.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Combat Zone, or you can get us on Facebook at Official Twitter. We have every other form of social media out there, which I probably can't remember what they are because that's just who I am. Or if you want to get a hold of me, you can always email me at djhyde at czwrestling.com. You can find me on Facebook at djhyde_1. Also on Twitter at djhyde_1. And fans, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you at the show.